Hey everybody, it's Ryan here from Android Coliseum, here to do my review on the HTC One A9. Now this is a very similar looking phone to probably some other brands you may have seen out there. Immediately you'd want to say, the Galaxy S6, but obviously I want to say the iPhone. This is very much similar to the iPhone device that's out there. Super skinny, gold is a nice touch, but the lines, the bands are on the side. And for me, it's just the top. It just so much reeks of an iPhone device. But that's just me. Anyways, that's me. Let's take a look at what else we have here. You take a look on the phone. It is not their top of the line premium, like with the dual speakers. That's okay, and it really is a good phone on its own. So let's take a look. It does have the fingerprint sensor there. So if it is turned off, I can just tap my phone there. Not as fast as some as you might want to see out there. So that's kind of unfortunate. Oops, I want to move this whole thing over here. Just having a one screen. Okay, so anyways, let's take a look here. Speakers in the bottom. Again, very reminiscent of an iOS device. We got an SD card and SIM slot there. We have a 13 megapixel camera in the back here. We have a 4 ultra pixel camera up in the front. We have volume controls and power all on the same side. Again, not a big fan. And as always, for some reason, HTC always flips theirs upside down for the micro USB port. Now, that being said, I moved it again. Oh well. That being said, this is still a fairly decent phone. This is a 5-inch at 1080p. This is a Snapdragon 617, so not the 615s that are out there. This 617 has 1.5 gigahertz times 4 plus 1.2 gigahertz times 4. It has 32 gigs of space, 3 gigs of RAM, which actually makes it a little snappy. I'm quite impressed with how snappy this little device is. And I believe this is also one of the first phones to come with Android 6.0 out of the box, aside from a Nexus. So everything else has had to get the update to it. Where it does fall down is the fact that it does have a 2150 milliamp hour battery. That's going to be tiny. That's going to be pretty small. Now, true enough, Doze is pretty cool. And I'll show you some features on Doze later on. But it really is hard to get over how much it feels like another manufacturer. And it's super skinny. You really feel like you're using something else. The fingerprint sensor at the bottom here just feels weird that there's nothing on either side here. Just kind of feels like it's wasted space because all your nav buttons up here, it almost feels like you should have done, I don't know. That's just me, maybe. If you can use the home button like a sensor, the button like a home button, just put your finger on it and it brings it back to home. Now that's, again, you would set that up in the settings, in your fingerprint scanner settings. So at that part, it works very quickly. Like you can just tap it and it brings it right back. Whereas turning it on, you kind of have to make sure it's really senses it. Now it gets a little vibrate, and so it didn't quite work. So whereas the Nexus 6P that I tested out was instantaneous, this is a little bit slower. All right. Other than that, this thing can be pretty snappy. I gotta admit, I'm impressed with how plucky the little thing can be. Slow down there. It can actually be pretty good. One thing weird with it, because I don't know if it's just HTC's on the way with this, but the swipe up to get to Google Now is gone. But where you just hold down the home button, you get Google, and then you can bring in Google Now that way. I was just hoping you could just swipe up. I'm very used to that swipe up gesture. Doze makes the battery last a long time when you're not using it. I used it over the weekend, I didn't touch it over the weekend, and it had only lost like 30% of the battery over a whole weekend of not being touched. And I would still see, blinking lights or would make a noise if something would come in. So it was still operating, but just not as super power hungry. So it was really good. So where does it show usage? Okay, well, we're not going to get a graph on that right now. Where is it? History? Yeah, because it's been too long a time since I haven't play around with it. But I gotta admit that is a pretty neat little feature, knowing that you can put it on dough, like put it down, and if you don't touch it for a while, doughs will keep it going for a long, long, long time. Like other than that, like I said, it's very, very reminiscent of any other HTC device we have with their HTC, you know, news feed that you have there, Blink feed or whatever they call it. We have, whoops. Camera app is, I think, one of probably the better features on this. Is really cool. So it has that feature to take like a bunch of little pictures and make an animated GIF. And then you can play around with a bunch of these cool little different features. Nothing super fantastic, but I think really neat little features it has built into the device that helps us use it. So, not a top-of-the-end quality phone. Feels like it, though. It really does feel top-of-the-end quality phone. Performs pretty darn near in terms of a top-end phone for most people. I think what's going to happen is people who use it a fair bit, you're going to notice that battery drain is going to start catching up to it. 2150 just won't get you through the day unless you're doing a lot of like leaving it alone for a long time. Anyways, I'll have a full review on the website, so I'll let you guys look at it there. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, just shoot us an email. Bye.